Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I wish I could be there in person. I'm so sorry. But like Mark said, I'm Caroline. I graduated Bentley in 2022, which is very scary that is 4 years ago. Hi, everyone. Super excited to be talking with you guys today. Like I said, I graduated Bentley in 2022. I was a data analytics major and I had an actuarial science and business studies minor. And then I was lucky enough to be a sandbox tutor. Um, After graduating from Bentley, I got my first job as a rotational program at Rapid7, which is a cybersecurity company, where I was doing a rotation of data science, business intelligence, and marketing analytics. And now I'm currently at CarGurus. I should have updated my slide because I did get promoted to senior sales data analyst a few months ago. So yeah, I've been there for a little over 2 years now. Um, and I'm going to talk to you guys today about how data is used at CarGurus. And yeah, so this is the agenda for the call today. Just kind of a quick overview of what is CarGurus, who are our customers. We're going to talk about data in the automotive industry, and then my role as a senior sales data analyst, and then we'll leave room for any questions. Before that, I wanted to have you guys spend a few minutes talking amongst yourself. I want you to think about the last time you or someone you know either bought or researched or even thought about buying a car. Um, and think about what was that process like, what factors were considered when searching for the right car, and what made you feel confident in your decision. So I'll give you guys just a couple minutes to talk about that. Cool. Does anybody want to share what they talked about? I was trying to listen in, but it was a lot of voices at once, so I couldn't really hear. But does anybody want to share what was talked about?
One person. One person you're going.
What question do you want to answer?
Your choice. What you talking? What are you talking about?
I feel like what we said was that like there's like different ways you can like approach buying a car, and you just have to like know your research and like what you're getting into, basically. Some of it.
So you have to know what you're getting into. Do your research. What do you guys talk about?
For me, I researched like fuel economy and like I wanted a sedan, so I wanted something economical. And I kind of already knew like I had to think about my lifestyle and what I wanted in like the next 4 years that would benefit me. So,
Good. What do you guys talk about?
We just said, yeah, your due diligence when researching. Obviously, like if you're young, nothing too flashy. So, Toyota, Honda, things like that. Something that's good on gas.
I have a Honda. Too flashy.
Yeah? What kind?
That's it.
Oh, nice.
What do you guys talk about?
We found that for most of us, the first thing we look at is price. Generally, the main idea is getting the budget first, and then looking through everything we want to know about. For the years.
Yes. Okay. Do you get you guys? Do you get you guys?
We go to never.
Are you know something like that?
Yeah, it's sort of like very similar to what that group said. Growing up like in kind of a more rural area, like having the ability to not necessarily drive only on pavement was very important. So like higher cars, four-wheel drive.
Okay, so no, that part of the court story can be right. And there's a singer? Yes. I think we heard from everybody.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing that. That was great. So I think that we can all agree that for most people, buying a car is a really big purchase decision. The car buying process can be very overwhelming. There are hundreds of different makes and models and options to choose from. And you might ask yourself, how do I know if I'm being given a good deal or if I'm being taken advantage of? Negotiating with sales reps can be very intimidating. So CarGurus is a platform that helps make that process simpler and more transparent. Here I just have a quick, I don't know if the audio will play, but I just have a quick CarGurus commercial that kind of gives an.
Buying a car is kind of a big deal. You need to see all the options. See, she knows. CarGurus gives you the most new and used cars right in your hand, so you know your big deal is the best deal. CarGurus, the #1 most visited car shopping site.
Okay, were you guys able to hear that?
Yes.
Okay. Awesome. So as you just heard, CarGurus is a digital platform for shopping, buying, and selling new and used vehicles. We are the #1 most visited site. It was founded in 2006, and we operate in US, Canada, and the UK. That is a picture of our lovely office building, which I'm in right now. So let's talk a little bit about who our customers are. Our customers can be broken down into two groups. We have consumers and dealers. Consumers are everyday people like us who are in the market for a car and are going on the CarGurus app and searching for specific makes and models and different cars in their area. Using CarGurus, either the website or the app, doesn't cost the consumer anything. So how do we as a business make money? That is where dealers come into play. So we sell our listing products and our inventory management tools to dealers so that they can post and sell their cars online. So basically, we get dealers to post their cars, and we also get consumers to buy those cars from those dealers. And how do we do all this? Using data. So we already kind of touched on why data matters to the consumers. We want to make sure we are finding the right car based on our needs. Data also plays a huge role to our dealers as well. Dealerships make money by selling cars. So they have a business model themselves and strategies and goals to work towards. They need data to know how to price their cars, what cars they should be buying, and how they are doing compared to dealerships around them. They're competing with other dealerships, so they want to know things like, how do I need to adjust my pricing strategy so that my cars will show up higher on the search results page and therefore sell quicker? So how CarGurus uses data. Think about every time you visit cargurus.com, whether it's on the app, the mobile app, or the website, every time someone searches for a car or clicks a listing or compares prices, that interaction generates data. CarGurus then uses that data to make buying and selling cars smarter, faster, more transparent. So we collect data on millions of car listings every single day. And if, think about how many data points make up a car. We have the year, the make, the model, mileage, interior and exterior colors, the list goes on. We store all that data and then we clean it, transform it into data models. A good example of this is our deal rating model. So I'm not sure if any of you have been on CarGurus before, but you will see that every car has a deal rating, meaning it's labeled as a good price, high price, fair price, or great price. So for every car that's listed, CarGurus identifies comparable vehicles, so similar make and model, mileage, condition, and then they use that data. Using that data, the algorithm calculates and estimates a market value for that specific vehicle. Then CarGurus compares what the dealer is asking for that car to that calculated market value and assigns it a good deal, great deal, or fair deal. This way, shoppers know whether what they are being asked to pay is an appropriate amount or not. It also enables dealers to ensure that they are asking for the appropriate amount and that they're going to get their cars sold. Another example of a data model is our churn predictor. The data science team collects information on dealer performance and then identifies dealers that are likely to discontinue their services with CarGurus. This information might be that the dealer's performance has gone down. They were receiving a ton of leads in the past, and a lead is when somebody is interested in the vehicle, they can submit their phone number and their name and their email. So the dealer might have been receiving tons of those in the past, and now they're having a harder time moving cars. Another input to the model could be that dealers have stopped engaging with their CarGurus dashboard. We track how often they are going in and adjusting their prices and using our different tools. And these data points then help us identify dealers that are likely to churn, and that allows our account managers to try to prevent them from leaving before they actually do. Another way we use data is in our dealer-facing reports. So when a dealer is on CarGurus, one feature of their package is access to different reports. So when a dealer's on CarGurus, one of the features of their package that they're paying for is access to these different reports that get sent out to them either once a week or whatever cadence they prefer. One of them is our acquisition insights reports. This helps dealers decide what cars they should sell. So CarGurus takes all of the car searches and sales in the dealership's region and identifies vehicles that are likely to sell, and then informs the dealers that these are the cars that they should purchase. Another one is called merchandising health. This is a report that notifies dealers when they are missing photos on a car, or anything about the car that would prevent someone from wanting to buy it. I know personally I would not want to purchase a car that doesn't have a picture listed to it, or I would want to be able to see a picture and see as much information as I can about the car. So that's what this report does, is help those dealers identify cars that they need to update information on. Another data-driven tool we have is our dealer pricing tool. With this tool, and let me switch slides. This tool lives within their dashboard, and they are able to see all their listed cars and basically how much they need to change the price by to get to a better deal rating. So if they have a Ford F-150 listed for $35,000, CarGurus will say, if you decrease this price by this amount, let's say $1,000, then this car will now show up as a great deal. So they have that information that they need where they don't have to raise the price too much. They know exactly how much they need to raise it by in order for it to get more traction. Does anyone have any questions or anything so far? We're good. So
If I buy CarGurus.com and I go into the dealership and buy the same car, would I get the same price?
yeah, a lot of people will do that. They will go to dealerships and like have CarGurus up on their phone and say like, this is the car that I'm seeing on CarGurus, and then they use that to leverage like, this is the price that I should be paying. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Cool. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about my role in the sales world. So working in sales department specifically was new to me when I started at CarGurus. I had no experience in the sales world. I also didn't know anything about cars. But there's so much data at CarGurus, and applying it to sales has been so interesting and honestly very fun. So sales at CarGurus is again selling our listing packages to dealers. We have different subscription tiers that give you different features. Dealers can upgrade to higher packages to get their listings more visible, to reach a wider audience, to get better leads, and to sell more cars. Dealers are very interesting customers. Many of them are extremely busy. A lot of them work weekends. It's not always easy to get them on the phone. They really just care about moving cars off their lot and making money. At CarGurus, sales is all about building and maintaining a good relationship with our dealers. So on the sales team, we have account executives and account managers. Each of these has their own book of business, meaning they have a list of 100 something accounts. An account is a dealer that they're responsible for. The account executive is focused on prospecting and closing deals. They look through their book of business and they find accounts that would be a good fit to upgrade their packages or to get new dealers onto CarGurus. Account managers are responsible for post-sale. So once a dealer signs up with CarGurus, the account manager will help them get set up with their dealer dashboard, show them how to use the pricing tool, how to set up the email reports like we saw above, and they have performance calls with them where they show the data on how many people are looking at their cars and what they can do to increase that number. So where I come into play is providing the account managers and the account executives with reporting tools to help them do all of this. So we talked about how every interaction with our website is data. I collect that raw data right from our website, and also all the data that we have on our dealers, like how many cars they have on lot. When was the last time an account manager or an account executive reached out to them? Who is the main point of contact at the dealership? What does their spend history with CarGurus look like? Are they a dealer that's very active within the dashboard or kind of just sit back and not really using it? This data lives in our data warehouse called Snowflake. I then use SQL, coding language SQL, to combine and transform all that data into actionable insights. On the next slides, I have some examples of some dashboards that my team and I have built. I'll show you guys, but another one of my main responsibilities is analyzing our competitor data. So what this means is we pay a third-party vendor, so we pay another company to give us data on what websites dealers are listing their cars. So this helps us get a better understanding of how we are doing compared to our competitors. How many dealers do we have listing on our site versus Auto Trader or Cars.com, Edmunds? There's a bunch of them. It also helps sales reps as they might see this dealer is on a competitor website. Therefore, we know they use online listing platforms. Let's try to bring them onto CarGurus. So now this is a report that I built, and it's called the Account Cockpit. And what this does is I use a tool. Our sales tool is called Salesforce, and my team uses a specific tool off of Salesforce called CRM Analytics. And what we do is kind of bring all this data together and present it to the sales team in a way that's going to make sense to them and give them everything they need to know. So this dashboard here is unique for each dealer. The sales rep comes in and they pick which dealer they want to look at, and they pull this up. And it's basically a big dashboard of smaller dashboards. We have tiles for product performance, meaning how many leads connections views on these cars are these dealers, this dealer in specific, getting, and how is that trending over time? These trending icons here, something that we built to give the sales reps a quick snapshot of like, here's a red arrow, red down arrow, their performance is down. And all of this information helps them prepare for dealer calls, helps them prepare for performance reviews. You think about most of the time when a dealer is calling CarGurus, it's probably to complain about the not seeing value or why are my leads down. And before this existed, our sales reps had to go digging through a bunch of, we talked about how much data there is. Trying to find that was really, really hard. So what my team did was kind of centralize it all in one spot. So in addition to product performance, we can see inventory trends. This dealer has 187 used cars on CarGurus right now. This is going to show you their deal rating breakup. So it looks like a big chunk of their cars, I think this price is high price. So that's a conversation to have with the dealer. Like, let's talk about your pricing strategy, because personally, or as a consumer, I don't want to buy a high price vehicle. We can see their pricing strategy, how that has changed over time. How much are they spending with CarGurus and how much have they spent over time? What packages they're on. Here's where we can see some of that competitor data. So we can see where else they're listing their cars. For example, this dealer is on CarGurus and on Edmunds. We might see that they recently dropped AutoTrader. They used to be on AutoTrader, now they're not. That gives the account executive an opportunity to have a conversation of maybe the dealer has more budget now to spend with CarGurus. Here is dealer engagement, where we can see who is using those reports that I talked about earlier. So are they opening those emails that we send them? Do they even know about the emails? This is a quick way to identify that. So this dashboard is, in all of these dashboards expand into much more detailed dashboards where you can see like down to the make and model, down to each individual vehicle, how many leads they're getting, how long has it been on CarGurus, all that type of stuff. So that's one example of a dashboard that I've built. Another is called the Account Management Hub. So like I mentioned before, account managers are responsible for post-sale operations. They trying to save our dealers from canceling, helping them with any problems that they have, whether it's for their performance or they need help navigating the dashboard. That's all the account manager's responsibility. This was a really big project that I was tasked with to create a centralized hub where the account manager can come in here. They come in here every day. They can scroll through these different tabs here and basically answer the questions of what have I done, what do I need to do, and what can I do, basically. So this is going to tell them, this person, for example, they're responsible for 295 dealerships. If you think about the work week, you don't have time to look through 295 dealerships by account and figure out what's wrong with each one or who do I need to reach out to. The hub is designed to give you the ability to filter down to whatever you care about. So, for example, we can see the churn risk of each of these accounts. So if I was June, I would come in here and I could filter my entire book by accounts that are very high risk. And then I can say, all right, this week I'm going to prioritize these 5 accounts that are the highest paying accounts. And I'm going to make sure that I do everything I can to prevent them from leaving CarGurus. You can see other things like when was the last time I reached out to them. Account managers are responsible for reaching out to most of their accounts like it's either 30, 60, or 90 days. This is a way for them to see, have I done that? There's a ton of information here. Sorry, one second. Okay. So does anyone have any questions on either of these reports or anything that doesn't make sense that you want me to explain? Okay. So that kind of wraps up my portion of talking about data and my role and what I do. My next slide is just some career insights and advice that I have. One is Bentley prepares you very well. Use it to your advantage. Go to all of the career fairs, even if you don't want to. I feel very grateful for Bentley after leaving. I would go back in a second if I could, but they give you so many opportunities for looking for careers and getting help with resumes and LinkedIn and all that. Definitely use it. It is important. Another thing is that so much is learned through experience. Be open to new tools and skills. So, like I mentioned, I was a tutor for the Sandbox. I took a ton of CS classes. I loved Python. That was my favorite class. I used to like beg my roommates to do their Python assignments for them. Professor Feidenberg, don't listen to that. But I loved Python. I took HTML, Java, all that. SQL was, I think, is that CS 350 where you learn SQL a little bit?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. That one, that was my night bomb class that I didn't pay a ton of attention to. And so I didn't feel super comfortable with SQL. When I started my first job, I realized that was going to be my main tool that I was going to be using. And I ended up like loving it. I love using SQL. And I'm happy that I was open to, there's so much to learn, and it's important to be, just because you don't shy away from an opportunity, just because you don't have the experience that you think you might need for it, because so much is learned through doing it. Like you can start a career without being an expert in SQL and learn it very quickly. Next one is that technical and business skills are equally important.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, technical and business skills are equally important. What makes great analysts is those that know the bigger picture of things and can explain the why behind the analysis you're doing and how it affects the business. Or is obviously ask questions. There's nothing scarier than being new to a job after college. You feel like imposter syndrome is really definitely real. It's a big adjustment, and just be open-minded and don't be afraid to ask questions. Like there really truly isn't dumb questions. And when you're starting a new job, like nobody there expects you to know everything. So don't ever shy away from asking what you think could be a dumb question, because it's most likely not. Next one is about AI. Use AI as a tool. I think you kind of don't have a choice at this point in life to be using it. I use AI all the time. It has helped me do my job significantly. But one thing I will say is don't let it do the learning for you. And by that, I mean, it's super simple to plug into ChatGPT. Can you write the SQL query for me? But if you don't know, if you don't spend the time learning why it's doing what it's doing, then that's when you're going to get stuck left behind and AI is going to replace you. But if you use it to your advantage and you use it to automate things for you, but you still understand what it's doing, that's when it's going to be best used. And then obviously, work-life balance is so important. That's a given. The transition from college to working is so a really big transition, and just make sure you take time for your personal life, everything like that. My last slide is just working at CarGurus. This is just a little plug for the company. It really is such a great company to work for. We have an amazing group of people that work here. One thing I've learned is, so my first job out of college, I thought was my dream job. I was so excited. I was doing really well. And then on a random day, I got laid off out of the blue. They laid off 20% of the company. I was in the middle of a really big project. I was supposed to present it the next day. I'd spent months and months and months on it. And I got laid off. The project didn't exist to me anymore. So that really taught me that, like, to not put your entire life into work. And that was such a blessing in disguise for me, because when I got to CarGurus, I realized how great of a company it was and how important it is to work for, be surrounded by people that you can trust and get along with. So we have an amazing office in Back Bay, and we're growing. It's a very exciting time. Here is just you can scan this QR code to join the talent community or follow our social medias. Always look up careers. I put the summer internships in here when I came in October. I don't think they're still looking for summer interns, but yeah, I'll give you guys a second if you want to scan that QR code. Are most of you, or do we have like seniors or is it kind of a mix of everything in the room?
Mostly first year, couple years.
Nice. And then here is the QR code to say that you attended, I think, right?
Yeah, this is your attendance QR code. You can scan that and follow the survey on there, and then we'll leave it here. Any other questions for Caroline while you guys finish this up? Thank you for joining us remotely.
Professor, we have a question.
Oh, we have a question for you.
Yeah, what's the hardest thing about your job?
The hardest thing about what?
Your job.
My job. I think for me, it's like project management and time management, just because being so data focused and data driven, I love to do all that building of charts and get all these requests done. But working with stakeholders and learning how to talk to less technical people is super was challenging for me at first. A lot of times I would get a request from someone like, can we see this report? And I would do I wouldn't really ask many questions. I would just assume I knew what they wanted. I would do a ton of work for it and then show it to them and then have them come back and say, actually, I kind of want to see this instead. And it was a learning curve for me to be able to get to like the root of what someone wants and what you can provide for them and how sometimes maybe they don't even know what they want. And right now I since getting promoted to senior, I'm responsible for a very large group. I'm responsible for the analytics support for all of the customer success org, which there's a ton of projects, and I think that's the hardest part for me is just the project management of it all. I like the data and the nitty gritty of the data, but I think also just data is always going to be messy. There isn't ever going to be perfect data at any company. So navigating that has been challenging but rewarding as well.
Thank you.
Of course. Does anyone else have any questions? Again, there aren't any dumb questions. So if you have anything at all.
What would you say is the biggest difference you found in a working environment at your first company, which seemed a little smaller and maybe a little more hands-on versus where you're at now in a larger company? You feel like you're working on important stuff and like still contributing just as much, or what's the experience at a larger company?
Yeah, it's definitely different. My first role, it's actually a pretty similar size company, but I was in a rotational program, so I was only on a team for 6 months at a time, um, which was great because I got to learn. I would recommend a sort of a rotational program always because it's a great way to learn different parts of the business. I got to see how the data science team works, how analytics works in marketing. But I would say I wasn't there for very long. I was only there for a year, and it was definitely hard to see impact at first just because I was mostly learning and switching around teams. But um, yeah, it takes a while to see, or at least it did for me to see your to be able to make like impact. So I think just like giving yourself grace and knowing that it's going to be a learning curve.